So back out here again on Highways and Hedges, the Chief Justice Concourse, on the east side of Chicago on April 16th, 2025. On the Highways and Hedges, the Chief Justice Concourse. This was part two. Because my phone had cut off on me, so I had used my backup phone. Good thing I always have my backup phone on me. So as I was continuing that Isaiah the 11th chapter, the Heavenly Father is going to come back to restore the remnant of His people, the Israelites. And this is Isaiah, Salakia. Yeah, this is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 11, and verse 10. It says, "In that day there shall be a root of Jesse for a stand for the ensign of the people shall the Gentiles see, and his rest shall be glorious." Yahweh says the rest shall be, it said, "He shall stand for the ensign of the people shall the Gentiles see, and his rest shall be glorious." This is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 11. "And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to cover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Syria, and from Egypt, and from Paphos, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and Hamar from the islands of the sea." Because these are the areas that we've been scattered at, speaking these different languages, different cultures, and different customs, and we're waking back up to who we actually are. So the Heavenly Father Yahweh is going to come back to restore the remnant of His people, the Israelites. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. It says, "It shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Syria, and from Egypt, and from Paphos, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamar from the islands of the sea." Because it says in the book of Hosea 1 verse 10, "Yet the number of the children of Israel should be as the sand of the sea." So we're not just only, we're just not only here in North America, we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. That's why we should be as the sand of the sea, so that makes perfect sense. This is Isaiah 11 verse 13. It says, "The enemy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversary of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not against Ephraim." Why? So Judah and Ephraim is going to come back together as that one nation, as we're seeing it. That's why it says in Zephaniah 2 and verse 1, we're being gathered back together, us the Israelites. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 14, it said, "But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines towards the west, and they shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom, Edom so-called white people, Moabite so-called Chinese, and so-called Japanese Koreans, Ammon shall obey them." This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 11 verse 15. It says, "And the power shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. With his mighty wind shall shake his hand over rivers, and he shall smite even the seven streams to make man go over dry shore." And this is the prophet Isaiah 11 verse 16. "And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, and will be left from Assyria, like as it was in the day that he came upon the land of Egypt." Right, because it's going to be a great deliverance out of modern and spiritual Egypt, just like it was in ancient Egypt. So it's going to be a great deliverance for the children of Israel, and Thwadi Habash Shai, and Ottoman Rotzai that will be part of that restored remnant. So I'm going to switch up the topic, get into the Ecclesiastes, it's the third chapter. There is a time of season that comes to heaven. So book of Ecclesiastes. Yeah, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." Right, so we're living in modern day times, a season and purpose in heaven, which is modern day biblical signs and signs of times, and these prophecies about the coming past be fulfilled. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 2. It says, "In a time to be born, in a time to be out eat, in a time to plant, in a time to pluck up the bushes." Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 3. "In a time to get out and build, in a time to heal, in a time to break down, in a time to build up." Ecclesiastes 3 verse 4, "In a time to weep, in a time to laugh, in a time to mourn, in a time to dance." Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 5, "In a time to cast away stones, in a time to gather stones together, in a time to embrace, in a time to refrain from embracing." Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 6, and it reads to the Holy Scriptures, "In a time to get, in a time to lose, in a time to keep, in a time to pass away." Ecclesiastes 3 verse 7, it reads, "In a time to reign, in a time to sow, in a time to be silent, in a time to speak." Like it says in the book of Habakkuk 2 and verse 3, "For the vision shall perform a time, but the end shall speak." Right, so the end is speaking, but these prophecies come to pass and fulfilled. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 8. "And a time to love, and a time of HATE, and a time of war, and a time of peace." Right, so we definitely live in a time of war. We see which war that's going on in our world today. And these modern day HATE, lawlessness, and iniquities ramping up in our world today as well too. So there's going to be times where we're going to live in a time of peace and a time of love. But as of right now, we're living in a time of HATE, and we're living in a time of war as well too. This is the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. It says, "The thing that have been is that which should be, that which is done. That which should be done, there is no new thing under the sun." Why? So there's no new thing under the sun because we're living in modern day biblical science, science of times, just like of course ancient times. Now we're seeing once again in modern times. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 1 and verse 10, and it reads, it says, "Is there anything wherefore may be said?" It says, "See, this is new, which have been called old times before us." Right, so like I mentioned before, example is new. Ecclesiasticus 1 verse 11. It says, "There is no remembrance of former things, knew there should be any remembrance of things that was to come, there should come after." And this is the book of Joel. Yeah, this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3. And this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the body, all the men of war draw near, let them come up." Right, so that's what we said over there in the Middle East. All these nations are being gathered up together over there in the Middle East, the Valley of Jehoshaphat. As we seeing what's taking place with, we're seeing what's taking place with over there in the Korean Peninsula. We're seeing North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and the United States. We're seeing what's taking place down there in the South China Sea, China versus Taiwan. We're seeing what's taking place over there in the Middle East throughout that whole region. So these are signs of the building up to the that's the building up to the Third World War. So we're seeing that increasing signs of it. Like it says in Revelation 11, verse 14, the second won't pass, but the third won't come quickly, which is Armageddon, Armageddon. And this is Joel chapter 10, verse 10. It says, "Beat your plowshares and swords and plenty which not spears." Right, so you're still going to have these armies of nations are in that warlike mindset, and they're rising up against one another. So you're still going to have Iran building up their nuclear capability. You're still going to see North Korea building up their nuclear capability, and all these other nations that's increasing their nuclear capability. So you're going to have more military exercise drills, more military spending, more military exercise training, and more nuclear escalations are heating up between these nations. So that's why the Heavenly Father put that warlike mindset on these armies of nations for the